In this video, we're going to create a to-do list using HTML, style it using Bootstrap, CSS, and make it function using JavaScript, of course. The to-do list will have the abilities to add items, display alerts, check items like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell if you like this video and want to see more of them. Also, you can then delete items, individual items, getting also an alert. You can edit items, individual items, then they can add them back to the list. And then you can also clear the entire list if you wish so. Boom, it's gone. This is also going to be saved to local storage and also like, share, sub, be able to retrieve the data also on refresh. This will also share the data between, oh, by the way, these are free projects. The first project that we did was actually a HTML, regular CSS, and JavaScript project. And this is why we're going to reuse the JavaScript, because the JavaScript will be added in the same file as the previous one and will also toggle between the free applications because we want to create three of them. One will be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then the other one will be using Bootstrap, the style I'm in. And then we're going to create one using Tailwind CSS. So this is the second edition of the project. And then we're going to do the third one with Tailwind CSS. But they're going to share the same JavaScript file. And now we're going to do a bit of magic because we're going to let JavaScript listen to each individual file. We're going to have an index.html. This is going to be particularly to the first project, then the second project, then the third project. And the JavaScript will listen and apply certain styles depending on what kind of style we are using. Also, the properties will be different. So, hope you're excited. If you are, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Also, click the notification bell in order to get notified whenever I post new videos like this. With this being said, let's get started with the project. By the way, that code is down in the video description. So download the code if you missed the first project. Also check out the first project, the video that is the video version that is, it is also down in the description. With this being said, let's get started. So in our previous project, we had our regular index.html file, our main JavaScript file, and we're going to do a couple of modifications here in order for it to recognize that we're using a different style. And we also have, of course, our CSS style here. So this is from the first project. Now I'm going to close up CSS, index.html, and actually also the main.js. Now let's create a new file. We're just going to call it index, B, capital B, and HTML. So shift, exclamation mark, create that boilerplate. And I'm just going to copy from the previous one, this little link right here, which is the Fontawsome link, the CDN for Fontawesome. I'm going to paste it in here because we're going to use, again, icons from Fontawesome. Then let's change this to to-do list B. And now we also need to add a Bootstrap link, Bootstrap CDN to this. So I'm going to close up the first one and let's go to bootstrap.com. From here, we're going to scroll down here and just click and copy clipboard this CDN, or just grab onto the entire CDN, right click, copy it. And now let's go back to the project, paste it in here. Voila, we should have Bootstrap linked up. So let's open this file, open it with live server. I'm going to close up the Bootstrap page and we should see absolutely nothing because we have nothing here. So let's start the project. Let me make this a bit smaller, close up the Explorer side right here. And of course, let's just start out with a div. And this would be the main div. So we're going to start out here with a dot row and dot padding on the x-axis of 2. So we're just creating, first of all, this container div. Although I don't want to use the container class for now, I'm just going to display this as row. Then within the first div, we're going to create another div, which will then, so class for a simple div and display, so d-flex. All of the items, which you can see down here, there are this little title, this little alert, this title, input, the button, and so forth and so on. They are going to be displayed in a flex direction. So let's go to our dflex, go into the div and create our main container here. Let's add to this the class of column, margin on the x-axis of auto. This will, of course, set margins to auto, but only on the x-axis. Next, we're going to add a margin to the top of free and then a text center. Okay, next we're going to add our very first component here, which will be this. It is actually a alert component. You can see all of the alerts appear here. But for now, it's going to be blank. So we're going to name this a feedback. And this class is important because we're grabbing onto this in JavaScript. And then dot and alert. Okay, let's hit save. And then right in within here, write value for item name. Next, we're going to create our form here, which is this title, input, and add button. So after our div, but still remaining between these two main tags, we're going to create a form tag with the ID of item form, then dot margin on the y-axis, my, and free. Within the form, we're going to create an h3 with the class of text and then capitalized, making our text dot margin bottom 4, making our text. So if I type in here to-do list, start with capital letters. Next up, let's create our input group for the input and the add button. So dot input dash group, and within here, we're going to add a input tag. We're going to leave the type of text, and then we're going to add to it a ID of item and input. Next, we're going to add the classes. So class of form control, then text capitalized because we want, again, the text to be capitalized as soon as we add it in here. So if I type something in here, the first letter will be capitalized. Next, let's change the border to border success and dash subtle, giving us a nice light green border. Then don't forget the placeholder, which is just going to be name and dot dot dot. Okay, and as you can also see, even the placeholder is capitalized when we use the text capitalized class here. Next up, the button. The remaining within our input group, we're going to create a button tag. The type of the button, so column, will be submit. Next up, we're going to add an ID to this of add item. And now let's style our button. Also, let's add the class of add item. And now let's go ahead and style a button using some Bootstrap classes. So class, first class is of course btn, giving us a regular button class. Now let's add a btn dash outline dash success, then a font weight of semi-bold, which is going to increase the font weight, but not that much, just a little bit. Then let's add a shadow to it by using the class of shadow dash sm, and then a margin start of 2, and that's it. Now by using the form control here and input group, you can see that the borders are rounded here and here, but they are 90 degrees when they meet. Okay, right after our form, we're going to create a div with the class of item dash container. Within our item container, we're going to have our item list, so another class of item dash list, and dot my margin on the y-axis of 5. And also, this is where each individual item will live. So first things first, we're going to create one item so you can see the style, and then we're going to create or insert the next item using JavaScript. So let's start out with our very first item. It's going to be a div with the class of item, then dot margin on the y-axis of 3. Then we're going to display it as flex. Let me just hit save here and let's just display this item. Talk about this item a little bit. So this item actually contains multiple elements within here. So this is the entire item from here to here. So it contains the name of the item, then it contains the numeration, which is actually the index with a bit of styling. Then it contains here a actions container, which contain a check, a edit, and a delete button. Okay, so let's continue on styling this entire item. So we're displaying as flex because we're going to display everything that's in here as flex, but there are going to be actually two containers here. So display flex. Now we're going to justify the content with space between. So justify content between, then align the items. So align items and center, then border dash button, and border, basically we're just adding the border to the bottom. And now we can style it using border success and subtle. Okay, go back to order. So there we go. There's our very first item. Okay, within here, we're going to create this little group here, which is going to be the name and the index. So we're going to place them in another div. We're going to display this div as flex, and then just add a gap of 1. Okay, within here, we're going to create an A6 with the class of item dash index, then border, and border success and subtle again. But we want this border to be rounded. and to have a padding of all around padding of 1. Okay, so if I type something in here, maybe a 1, then you're going to see something like this. Now I'm going to change this actually to a, so I'm just going to create it down here, $sign, open and close curly brackets, and type in index. You're going to see this for now, but this is going to be displayed then in JavaScript. You could also just comment it off if you want. I would just leave it in here for now. I'm going to delete this number 1 in just a couple of minutes. Okay, next up for the text, I'm going to go underneath that H6 and create a paragraph tag with a class of item-name and then text capitalized. And within here, we're going to just type in the item. Again, $sign, open close curly bracket, because this is going to be a variable that we're going to insert here using JavaScript. So for those of you who are not following this as an individual project, maybe you can already see differences when you're comparing this to the regular CSS project, as how quickly we're actually moving by using Bootstraps. Now, this is not as customizable as using regular CSS, but it speeds up things. And it is exactly as I did my previous video where I was comparing CSS, Bootstrap, and Tailwind CSS, that speed is of essence when you're building something quickly, when you're prototyping. This is where Bootstrap is especially good. But then when you get into production, you should actually use either regular CSS or Tailwind CSS for just that extra touch. Okay, now let's move out of our main flags here and create another div for the icons. So we're going to create here a div with item icons. Within here, we're going to create a I. You know what? Let's actually place them into anchor tags. Let me think about this just a bit. Yeah, let's place them into anchor tags. Within the anchor tag, I'm going to create a I, then dot far dot fa dash check and dash circle. Then I'm going to add to this the class of completed dash item, or complete item dot margin on the x-axis to an item dash icon, then text success. Okay, let's see what we got here. So we got just a regular check mark, but this class right here is a trigger class. This is very important. This is going to be grabbed on in JavaScript. Also to add here a hex in order for this anchor tag not to do anything. So the main problem is, click on this, nothing will happen. The main problem is that in Bootstrap, we do not have a class that would turn the cursor into pointer. Tailwind CSS has it. Regular CSS, well, has it because it's regular CSS, but Bootstrap does not have it. So this is why I'm wrapping icons into anchor tags in order to have this little pointer effect. Okay, I'm going to copy this once, replace this FA circle width and check with edit. Then the completed item will be just replaced with edit icon, edit item, so edit item instead of completed, and text will be secondary. Okay, we have our icon right here. Now, if you're not seeing this, then you did not copy the Fontawsome CDN in. So please do that. Okay, let's copy it once again and then replace FA edit with times and dash circle, giving us that little delete sign. And of course, we're going to replace, instead of edit, we will have here delete. And instead of text secondary, we're going to have text and danger. Okay, so not a huge color range as you can see here, but we're going to fix this in Tailwind CSS. Now we're almost done. We're missing here one more thing, and this is this little clear items button. So let's add that button. Let's see, we have this div. You can also close up the div. So the items icon, then you have basically need to move out of the items, out of the individual item. Okay, out of this one, and then it should be right here, still in the items container, where we're going to create a button. Now, don't forget to add to this the type of button. There's not going to be a submit button or something like that. Then let's add a couple of classes. We're going to have btn. Oh no, you know what? First of all, let's add the ID. ID of clear dash I dash list. So clear list. Then dot btn dot btn dash outline dash success. Then let's add a margin on the y-axis of 3. Then a font weight of semi-bold. So basically exactly as we did the other button. Semi-bold. And then shadow of SM. And that's it. Okay, so here's also the text of clear list. Okay, we got everything that we need. Now let's make this work. So we're going to work on JavaScript now, because HTML and styling is already done. All we need to add now is functionality. So we're going to go to our project and open up the main. So don't forget, entire code is down in the video description. Open up our main JavaScript file. And the very first thing that we're going to do is create here another const. So right after this console log, I want to comment this out. But before our let to do items array, we're going to create a const. We're going to call this Bootstrap. Bootstrap. Okay, I'm going to go to the document now. And from here, we're going to go to the head, create a selector, and we're going to select the link tag. So let me show you what we're doing. Let's go back up here to the head, and we have this little link tag. Now this link tag has this href, and this is what we're going to work with. So I would suggest that you just copy, let me just think about it. Copy this href, the entire thing, hold it in a copy, then type in here within quotations, link, then open and close square brackets, and paste in here. And for some reason, this don't need you. This should be a regular quotation, single quotation. Okay, so between double quotes, we're going to have a link tag, then open and close square brackets, paste in this href, and change the double quotation to single quotations for the CDN. Okay, hit save. You can also just try now to console log the Bootstrap link that's open, inspect, and you should see in your console. Oh yeah, let's go back to our index.html, go down and script, source, and main.js. And now you should see exactly this link. So this means this is getting selected from the DOM. So let's comment this out. And now let's do a couple of verification. You can always see this is loading, but it's not loading what we wanted. So right here where we have our function of getList, it's loading the regular CSS. So we're going to change this. We're going to make it so that if Bootstrap exists, so if the link of Bootstrap exists, then it should load a different HTML here. So what we're going to do is go up here before the items list and create a if statement. And within this if statement, we're just going to ask if Bootstrap. Now, if it is Bootstrap, then we're going to go to our HTML, copy this item. So within your container, you have your to-do list, and you're going to copy everything that is in that list, basically the class that starts with item. Let's make it smaller, hold it in a copy, go in here, and we're going to item list dot insert adjacent element, not element, adjacent HTML, open and close parentheses, and now it's going to ask you where you should insert it. So open and close quotations, and you should insert it before end, then escape the double quotes, comma, and now open and close backticks. Now just paste in your HTML here, and voila, your items will be replaced with your Bootstrap. Now, we're not done, because right after this condition, we also need to create a else statement. So else, open and close quotations, and we're just going to move this statement in here. And voila, the other one disappeared. But we're not done yet. We still have to handle, for example, if I click here on add item, nothing happens. But actually, we should get finish project, for example, this type of an alert. So let's take care of the alerts, meaning we're going to take care actually of our feedback function. The feedback function should be completely down here, send feedback. I can already tell you that feedback here, so this everything that is in this function, the very last statement, you can only wrap it into curly brackets and type in before the curly brackets a else statement, and then open and close curly brackets, if statement, open and close parentheses. Once again, we're going to just type in Bootstrap. If Bootstrap is true, then we're going to copy this function, I think that is in here, paste it up here. We have one curly bracket too much. And instead of this class, just class, we're going to replace this with alert dash, and then the class, alert dash class name. Down here, we're going to, instead of add, we're going to remove this alert dash class. So just add alert dash to it. And now let's see where we have our feedback. So for example, if we hit command or control on a PC and click on this function, it's going to open up the function in your multiple instances in your code. So let's go to the very first one. The very first one, will be up here. Also, if you just double click it and scroll through the code, you will see multiple instances where you have your feedback. The first instance will be in your delete event, actually in all of your events. But the very first one is in your handle item. So when you're adding an item, we're going to add an event to each of the items. We're going to loop over that, and then different events should happen. So the first event will be the completed event. If the item is completed, in order to check for it, then we should actually just check for this button here, because if we click on edit, you should see that the button changes from add item to edit item. Now, if we can grab onto this little text, then we can also check what kind of text should we return. So let's type in here, if the item text, or in our case, the item name, this little fellow right here, also contains in its class list, the class, so dot contains the class of completed, so open close double quotation, completed, then we're going to send feedback, so trigger the send feedback function, and we're going to set the feedback of open and close backticks, item completed, and remember, this is awaiting for a text message, and then comma is awaiting them for the class. And in our case, if we have here, so $, open close curly brackets, if we have a bootstrap here, then we can tell it to send a class of success. And if not, we're going to just send a class of green. Okay, so let's try this out. Oh, and I just typed this outside of the context of this query selector. So let's try this again. So there we go. Check it. If it's completed, then it should be displayed green. Okay, the alert just saw was for this item that it was completed. Now that's one part. Next, we need to add here that if the item is completed, we should add here line through and change the color of the text. Oh, and by the way, let's now go, because we copied in this little fellow. Now delete this one and just leave in here a, this is an ampersand, be a $, of course, and index. Okay, now you should see 0, 1, 2, because they're 3 items. Okay, now let's move to our completed event. Once again, down here, we're going to again ask the question, if bootstrap, then the item index, or let's start with the index. So item.index.classlist.toggle, and we're going to toggle here now we need to add multiple classes, so we need to add multiple toggles. So first we're going to add a text decoration dash line and dash through. Okay, so let's just try and check one of them. Okay, there we go. There's a line through, but it should be actually on the name. Change this to name. You know what? I'm going to make this smaller. So there we go. Then let's change the text. So I'm just going to copy this, and then text will be secondary. We're going to copy this text secondary and change here item and index instead of name. Now let's click on one again. Okay, so line through, text secondary. This is also text secondary for the index. And now let's make also the borders from the index secondary. So we're just going to do here, copy this and change this to border dash success dash subtle. And if you're asking what am I doing here, well, pretty simple. I'm just removing that border subtle success from from our previous class, making this border as a gray border. Okay, so that's it for this one. Now we also need a alert for when we're trying to add something, as we have here now finished project. We're trying to add something, we're going to get this alert that nothing is in here, so you need to specify it somewhere. So we're going to move to our form down here, add item to the list. When we're adding something to the list, we have your send feedback. And again, we're just going to replace this red, or incorporate in this red, open and close curly brackets, and here a $. And instead, we're also going to add backticks and ask here the question, bootstrap is the variable. And if this is true, then you should add the class of danger. And if it's not true, then column red. So let's try this out. Click on add item. But you know what? Let's mix it up a bit. Instead of form, I'm going to use here the btn, the add btn, and instead of submit, I'm going to do here a click event. Okay, so when we're going to click on add item button, we should get our alert instead of our regular wait, I just closed it up accidentally. So text HTML get here. Okay, so we're getting now our bootstrap value. Okay, now when we're adding an item, so let's add here a new item. Then we should also get here item added to the list, but in a different, in a successful alert. So let's do another one that was send feedback, add item to the list. So if the item was added successfully, we're going to copy this part, paste it in here, add success, the class of success, else green, and we're going to close this little fella up here. Also add, don't forget to add backticks. And let me spell success because I'm not successful. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's add new list item and enter, and there we go. Perfect. Now let's delete one. You should get here item deleted. There should also be a danger. So let's go up in our events. Here we have delete event. Just add here $. Actually, first of all, wrap this into backticks. Then $, open and close curly brackets. Then bootstrap. If bootstrap is true, then add success, the class of success. And if not, then add success. And if not, then add, oh, sorry, this should be danger. Danger. Okay, so let's delete new item or to do for, and you should get a danger alert. Okay, perfect. Now, as a very last touch, you could also add it when you clear the list. But I think this is pretty obvious that all values are now deleted. So you can do this on your own. It will be down here. So this is the project. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, thumbs up. If you have any kind of questions or suggestions, please leave them down in the comment section below. As always, I'm Norbert BM. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.